Hey guys, Thunder E here, and welcome to Gaming on the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max. This is the video you've been waiting for, forget any other video, because this is where Apple has made some really major changes to the Pro line when it comes to gaming. Now, before we go ahead, let's take a look at the hardware. So the 17 Pro and Pro Max really have a unique hardware look to them this year. Now, starting off with the colors, we've got that blue for the Pro. A little bit muted, but I do like it. And then of course the very striking cosmic orange, which stands out and lets people know that you do have a brand new iPhone. Now, the other thing of course is this has a full aluminum build, no more titanium. Apple has gone with this because of course this aluminum is a better conductor for heat, which means that you can cool your device better and you get better temperatures while gaming and also even using your camera, which is good. Another thing that's been added to the device that is very important specifically for us, for gamers, is a brand new vapor chamber. And the vapor chamber here is something that we've seen on Android devices in the past, the Galaxies, gaming phones, you name it, and it's finally here. And what that does, it helps reduce temperatures while gaming, while using your camera, but any high intensive process on the processor, which is great. So that means you're looking at lower temperatures, but I am happy to see this and I'm really excited. When we move over to the front of the device, we do have displays that go up to 3000 nits, which is great. Screen sizes are the same from the previous year, but having up to 3000 nits brightness, which means in direct sunlight, you're gonna get better viewing on the device. What do we have under the hood? Apple announced a brand new A19 Pro processor. This is their latest processor, and this gives you some really high performance. And as you know, we're going to be doing some benchmark tests, especially with Geekbench 6. So looking at the CPU scores for the 17 Pro and Pro Max, we're looking at a single core score that's around 3700 for the Pro and 3800 for the Pro Max, while the multi-core score is about 9800 and 9700 respectively. Now, when we look at the scores in comparison from last year with the 16 Pro Max, you can see that it's still pretty much in line and not a big jump, especially when it comes to the multi-core scores. The single core scores, there's about a 400 point difference there, but again, still very close and in line. For GPU scores, the iPhone 17 Pro comes in at about 46,000, while the iPhone 17 Pro Max is at 45,000, much higher than what we actually got last year with the iPhone 16 Pro Max. So again, nice improvements here, and I think this is where this will help gaming. Of course, GPU scores are very reliant for the gaming experience. So besides the A19 chipset there, the A19 Pro, what else has Apple done to this device? They've added two new chips. One is the C1X. This is your modem for the device, giving you a continuation from the C1 announced for the iPhone 16e. This is Apple's in-house modem. So Apple talks about connectivity here for 5G and also better synergy, so there is better battery usage. So gaming on the go, this is very, very important, and it makes a lot of sense to actually have that synergistic approach with the A19 Pro. The last chipset is the brand new N1, Apple's in-house Bluetooth and Wi-Fi chipset. Why is this important? This chipset supports Wi-Fi 7 and also Wi-Fi 7 management, Bluetooth connectivity for your, say, your AirPods Pro and other headphones that you're using in the iPhone 17 Pro and the iPhone 17 Pro Max for Wi-Fi 7. Well, that leads us to our sponsor of this video, TP-Link, with their brand new Deco BE67 True Whole Home multi-gigabit mesh Wi-Fi router. Now, it may sound like a lot because this thing really is impressive. When they sent it over, I decided to set it up in the office where I have 2 gigabit connection, which for me is super fast. But this mesh router supports 14 gigabits per second. I didn't think that was possible, which for me is great. Plus, its range is very impressive at 8,100 square feet. Covers enough range to cover my house, my office, and then some if they were all stacked. It also supports up to 200 devices connected at the same time. And of course, as a reviewer, I have a lot of devices connected, and that means you're also getting fast speeds all around using some really great technologies like multi-link operation, where it takes advantage of all the different bands within the router, your 2.4, your 5 gigahertz, and your 6 gigahertz bands for simultaneous data transfer and faster connection speed. So if I'm gaming around with the iPhone 17 Pro and I move from place to place with that within my office, I'm getting the same fast speeds that I expect. Now, setup for this router was super quick. under 10 minutes. I was able to get it up and running and set up all the mesh routers around the office. The other cool thing is you also have wireless and wired backhaul for faster data transfer. And each mesh Wi-Fi hub has a gigabit Ethernet port, a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port, and a 10 gigabit Ethernet port. So you've got all the connectivity you need and also the speeds that you're looking for, especially while gaming on the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max. So use the link in the bio to pick one up, especially because it's priced at just $699, probably one of the lowest I've seen for a Wi-Fi 7 mesh router. And with all the features packed in, can't go wrong. So let's start off with our first game here for both the 17 Pro and Pro Max, and that is Call of Duty Mobile. So Call of Duty Mobile had the max settings for both the 17 Pro and Pro Max, and gaming on here was really smooth. And as you know, Call of Duty Mobile is our baseline for testing here, and we got 60 frames per second. Now you're wondering, you can do 120? Yes, you can, and it should be able to. It looks like we might need an update for this again. This is actually running these benchmark tests before launch of the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Maxes, so you do have that there, but it runs pretty smooth at 60 FPS for both the 17 Pro and the 17 Pro Max. Now our next game is PUBG Mobile. We're able to play it at both either Ultra HD Extreme and Smooth Extreme. Now at both of these settings for the 17 Pro and the 17 Pro Max, we got 60 FPS as well. So about 59 FPS overall, very smooth gameplay. And you're gonna notice a trend here that updates might be required pretty soon, but it actually still ran really well, very smooth. And one of the things that you guys will be asking me is about throttling. And so far with the first two games, there were no throttling involved. It ran well, and also, you know, the screen didn't dim down. That vapor chamber, it looks like it's playing its role quite well. Now let's move over to Genshin Impact, the game that had the temperatures that was crazy last year. At Genshin, we ran, of course, the max setting 60 FPS for both the 17 Pro and the 17 Pro Max. And while gaming here, playing Genshin Impact, we got a steady 60 FPS on this. Very smooth gameplay for both devices, very, very solid. Now, when it comes to temperatures, you guys have to wait till I finish because I really want to spend time on temperatures. But I will say, I did not get the high temperatures from last year. So that's just something to hold on to that. Now, the next game here is Delta Force Mobile. This is a game that can actually do 120 frames per second. We do know that we have a Pro Motion display from Apple, which goes up to 120 hertz. But with Delta Force Mobile, I could not go to the 120 FPS settings. I did go to the highest that you see on screen. And while playing Delta Force Mobile, it ran smooth, no slowdowns for both the 17 Pro and the 17 Pro Max. And it played really, really well. And we got 60 FPS again. So solid gameplay performance from here. Very nice performance all the way through. Next, of course, is Fortnite. Fortnite is a game that, you know, kind of was banned from the App Store. It's back. I wanted to play that for you guys just because Fortnite is a game that a lot of people play. And both devices, 17 Pro and Pro Max, we're getting a solid 60 frames per second. The only thing about Fortnite we'll mention is at the beginning of my gameplay when I got onto the map, it kind of jittered a little bit. It bounced up and down the frame rates, and eventually, once I landed on the map and started running around, it stayed at 60 FPS. So that's the only game that had a little bit of, you know, shakiness left and right. But again, performance was really solid for both devices. Now on to Wuthering Waves. This is a game that is graphically intensive, and we're able to play it at its max settings for both the iPhone 17 Pro and 17 Pro Max. And this is a game that actually did better than I expected. Going to the heat of the battle, really smooth gameplay all around, and we were doing 63 frames per second average, so slightly higher than what you normally get. But it's good to see that this actually functions really well and runs very, very smooth. And finally, Destiny Rising. This is, of course, the latest game out there. It's a Destiny game, and this is a graphically intensive game that you can max out the settings. They did say 120 FPS gaming will be coming in November, so I can't wait to check it out with Destiny Rising on these devices. But performance here, playing at max settings for the 17 Pro and Pro Max, smooth. absolutely smooth gameplay, especially getting into fights, getting into a rhythm while gaming. It looks really good as well. And we got 60 FPS as you would expect. Very smooth gameplay all around, which was very impressive. The next thing you're going to ask me is, what about temperatures? How did it actually feel on the device? Because it's aluminum, you're going to feel the heat all around. So it disperses the heat around the device altogether. So sometimes you might feel like it's hotter than it is, but it really isn't the case. While gaming with this device, especially with Genshin Impact when we get there, just to give you a reminder, last year we did 118 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the temperature of Genshin Impact last year, which is insane. But this year, it only went up to 105 maximum. So that is a huge jump. So roughly around 13-degree difference from last year to this year. That was a huge change in temperatures, looking at what we got from last year to this year. So I really appreciated that. Now, the game that kind of went a little higher was Destiny Rising. That went up to roughly around 107 in terms of temperatures. But this is a new game, so that's something that we'll have to see how that gets optimized all the way through. But I do like the fact that the temperature difference dropped from last year to this year for Genshin Impact, which was the game that basically just ran the hardest last year, is impressive. I love that fact there, and I think it works out pretty well. When you're holding the device, it also plays very, very well. Now, the next question you're probably going to ask me is, what about game controllers? So I use the Backbone Pro. That's the controller that I like best currently right now. And Backbone Pro fits easily and well for both the Pro and the Pro Max. Both devices will slide into it without doing any customization or changes. It works pretty well. The camera bump doesn't affect it in any way. So I actually played, as you saw, most of these games using the Backbone Pro controller, which is very nice to see. And again, if you want to pick one up, use our link down in the description. What about listening to audio on the device? How are the speakers themselves? What I want you to do is take a quick listen to some of the gameplay here, and then we will wrap it up. Sounds very good, sounds very loud and clear. I definitely like it, but if you want to see how the rest of the iPhone 17 line compares in speakers, definitely go check out our speaker test, because that is a very robust video to see how the 17 Air, the 17, 17 Pro and Pro Max compared to the last year's 16 Pro Max, as well as also the Galaxy and the Pixel 10 Pro XL. Now, when it comes to battery life, that's also another big thing. Wondering how well battery life has lasted for this. So with the iPhone 17 Pro Max, I started at 100% and I went down to around 77. That is a 23% reduction in battery, and that's actually me playing for roughly around 2 hours. So that's actually pretty good. And then the iPhone 17 Pro, I started at 97% and I went down to 75. So that comes down to around 22% in terms of battery reduction. And that's also for playing roughly around the same time period. So battery life indications are pretty good when gaming on both the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max. And I think a lot of people will like what Apple has done here. I'm impressed, I like it, and I think that this is good for the whole market overall, which means other devices on the Android ecosystem will of course do better things, and Apple will eventually do better things. Overall, the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max have impressed me. One of the things I definitely like is the fact that the temperatures have dropped drastically, including the vapor chamber does magic, and I'm glad Apple has finally joined the fray there. This is a system that has a lot of gamers and a lot of gaming over the years. We know that the iPhone has had the big push in gaming with games like Fortnite, for example, Genshin, things like that have really been the frontier on the iPhone when it comes to more hardcore gaming. And finally, we have a device here with the Pro Max and the Pro that definitely do that job well. But if you're an iPhone user and you want to upgrade to the iPhone 17 and 17 Pro specifically for gaming, you should, because it does the job that you want to in terms of temperatures. It maintains the frame rates quite well. I didn't see any throttling, especially playing Genshin for an hour. I played for an hour. Those were the numbers that I got. and that's what you see there. So that is truly impressive, and I'm glad to see that. So if you guys have any questions or any comments about the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, let us know. Use our link down below to pick one up if you want to, especially that Cosmic Orange. It looks really good. Trust me, it looks much better than you think. Also, if you want to pick up that Deco router from TP-Link, which is a Wi-Fi 7 router, pretty good, also great price point, use the link in the description. So this is Thunder E saying thank you, and always enjoy your entertainment.